Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness of sustainable health in the business hustle space. The Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve optimal health. It's Friday, which means it's time for friends sharing facts about health, business, and overall success. In today's episode, we talk to Hesu Whitten, who will talk about connecting the dots to the disease using kinesiology. Dr. Hesu Whitten has practiced in Santa Barbara since 1999. While at Parker College at chiropractic, he became fascinated with a form of muscle testing called clinical kinesiology. After spending 4 years mastering this, he realized that it was too complex for people to learn and utilize. So what he did is he started his own healing system called the Whitten Method. His system took the work to a much deeper level while utilizing much simpler techniques that can be taught in 2 weekends. His years of work have been dedicated to developing the most advanced and comprehensive healing system available. This powerful modality provides practitioners with the ability to diagnose and correct imbalances and trauma with fine-tuned precision and thoroughness. An interesting fact about Dr. Whitten is that he loves writing music and has been doing it for over 30 years, and he finally recorded his first CD last year. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much.
That's brilliant. So what's this CD that you recorded last year about?
Well, I've written a couple hundred songs, so I just took the my best 10 and went in the studio and got together with some other great musicians. And I wasn't planning on being the singer, but they said, just give it a try, you know. And they said, that's actually pretty good. It actually works. So I just went with it, and it was overwhelmingly, fulfilling, and It was so much better than I could imagine. I have a patient who, she's the daughter of the Mamas and Papas. You know, the old band from the 60s, the Mamas and Papas.
I unfortunately don't know.
They were like at the time of the Beach Boys. They're kind of at that level.
Yep.
So, so this woman, she sings with the daughter of Brian Wilson, who's the main songwriter in the Beach Boys, and she got my CD to her and to some other people. So
that's
it's been
amazing.
Exciting.
That is pretty awesome. And writing about 200 songs, wow! Like that must be like, you must be very creative to be able to just flow it out and let it out.
Yeah, I mean, once you're playing guitar and you've got melodies in your head, they just kind of, I wake up with them.
Yeah.
And so I just wake up with the melody and then I write it down. I'm like, I wonder what this song's about. And sometimes I'll get one line and then it'll just kind of unravel.
That's brilliant. That's very creative of you.
Some of them take a half hour to complete the song. I have another song that the music came and the words didn't come till 6 or 7 years later.
Wow.
So
you're just letting it flow. It just comes through you. That's perfect. That's like the perfect artist, isn't it?
Yeah, I never feel awkward saying they're my songs because I feel like they just kind of flowed through me.
Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. So not only are you an amazing practitioner, you're also an artist.
I think the greatest healers in the world have been the Beatles. Like, it's impossible to put on a Beatles album and stay depressed.
I agree.
So I think there's something about music that's absolutely healing and de-stressing, if it's the right music, if it's high consciousness music, if it's, positive. It just connects you with your heart, with your emotions, and it just opens you up. So the purpose of my music was actually to write music that opened people up. Because each song that I recorded opened me up when it came to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that with people. In fact, my girlfriend took me to Michigan to see a Paul McCartney concert. And I actually got my CD to him, I think. There was 20,000 people there. There was no way to get to him. But I had the brilliant insight that I bet his sound engineers travel with him. So after the concert, I ran up and chatted up one of the sound engineers, and they said they were about to fly to Brazil, and would you share my CD with them? So like, yeah, we've got 12 hours on the plane. Be happy to. So I think he's got it, but I still haven't gotten the phone call.
We're still waiting for that phone call.
Yes.
That's brilliant. That's an amazing story. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on today's podcast. We've got such an interesting topic that we're going to talk about. But before we get started, I wanted to find out a little bit about you. I wanted to know what have been the key turning points to get to where you are now. I mean, you've been practicing for so many years. You're an amazing practitioner. You've made this your own method. So what have been the key turning points to have led you where you are here today?
Gosh, there's so many. When I was 12, my parents split up when I was about 2. My mother was alcoholic, and so I was raised by my father. But having my mother leave at such a young age, it gave me a lot of emotional issues to process. So a lot of my work deals with clearing deep-seated emotional issues. So that trauma is a big part of it. My dad was a sugar addict, and so I was sick a lot. And my grandmother, she got cancer, and she went to the Gerson Institute, really focused on nutrition. So I learned a lot about nutrition from my grandmother, and the importance of detoxing. But my mother's second husband, she got sober when I was about 10, and he went on to chiropractic school. So when I was about 13 years old, he came home one day because I'd spend the summers with them, and he demonstrated muscle testing for me. He said, "Your body knows everything about you, and through muscle testing, we can get yes and no answers." So it was kind of a way to communicate with your own body's innate wisdom. So I thought that was fascinating, but I forgot about that for about 10 years, and I went and got a psychology degree, and then went on to massage school. And then somehow I remembered that technique, and I thought, I wonder if there's any books about that. And so I got in touch with the book Touch for Health. And at the time I was lifeguarding on the beach in Venice Beach, California. And there were some days where there was nobody in the water. So over about a week, I memorized that book. And I started doing it on my massage clients. And it just got me fascinated with muscle testing and how to read the body, and the idea that the body will tell you how to heal itself if you listen to it. So I got interested in the idea of muscle testing being a tool to listening to the body, that the body will actually the body's actually requesting certain things, and muscle testing is a way to essentially decode what the body's requesting. And so I started talking with my stepfather, my mother's second husband, and he said, "Touch for Health is great, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's much deeper techniques, but you have to be in chiropractic school to take those seminars." So that's what I got to do. So I went and got enrolled in chiropractic school, and off I went. And so those are some of the key turning points. And then I met my mentor, and
things went on from there. So you must have been very surprised and been like, the muscle testing, the body talks to us as a yes or no. How did you go with that? Because for the audience listening, they'll be a bit like, what? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so the idea is that your brain at the subconscious level knows everything about you. Every memory, every trauma, everything about you, from every bone that's out of place to what foods you're allergic to what your mental and emotional hang-ups are, where trauma lives in your body. Because every trauma lives in a certain location in your body. And so you have this Library of Congress. I mean, it's just this vast information at the subconscious level in your brain. It's like a supercomputer database of everything about you, not only what's out of balance with you, but also what you need for healing. And it could say, okay, this is the highest priority. This is priority number 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you can get access to that kind of information and just give the body what it's requesting, everything becomes organized and it heals itself. So I don't heal anybody. I just listen to what the body's requesting and give it what it needs, so it has the resources to heal itself.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I love that you started your journey studying psychology. So you yourself were pretty interested in how the human body works, on an overall level. And then you moved into massage. So again, the human body. And then you moved to be a chiropractor. So, your love for the human body has definitely, been throughout your whole life, from what I can see.
Well, I was an athlete. So when I was 11 years old, I was New England champion in gymnastics, judo, in the top 8 in swimming. My dad was an Olympic level swimmer. We were very athletic. And, something like gymnastics and judo, you're always getting thrown out of balance. So I really came to appreciate massage and chiropractic and, working hands-on with the physical body. And like I said, with my grandmother, I got an appreciation from nutrition. And then because of my own, emotional traumas, I realized the mind is a, very important component to becoming free and being healthy, mentally, emotionally. So I was really looking for a way to put all that together. If you're going to call yourself holistic, you have to treat the whole person.
I agree.
Solid, liquid, and gas, the bones and muscles, the body chemistry, and then the mental, emotional, spiritual level. So if you leave out any of those components, you're not holistic.
100%. You're just focusing on one part. So what I wanted to get, before getting into more deeper about kinesiology and so forth, I wanted to find out, we'll talk a lot about success on this podcast. I wanted to find out, what does success look like for you? Because it changes for a lot of people, changes throughout the years. But at the moment, what does success look like for you?
It's so cool that you bring that up. It's a question that I think a lot about. It's a really important question because obviously it's not a tangible thing. It's not like I'm now successful.
Yeah. Well, that's what most people chase, and they think it is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of like the horizon. You never quite get there. But sometimes we feel successful, and sometimes that it's kind of like a fleeting feeling. So I like making things tangible. So I've kind of broken it down into 9 different categories. So there's success with health. Like, you could be financially successful, but if your health sucks, how successful can you claim you are? So there's health, there's the finances, having a career that's satisfying and fulfilling, spiritual contentment, being creative, feeling like you're creating, communication, feeling like you can communicate, your thoughts, your feelings, your intentions, your relationships, your family, feeling philanthropy, having a sense that you're making a contribution to the world. So those are the different categories. And with muscle testing, I actually calibrate myself on a 10-point scale to see how successful I am with each of those. So with muscle testing, you hold strong or weak. So strong is a yes and a weak is a no. So like if I said financially how successful I am, over a 4, over a 5, over a 6, over a 7, over an 8, over a 9. So I calibrated about an 8 financially. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I'm not a millionaire, but I've got a nice life. I surf, a few times a month. I can get the food that I want. I've got the toys. I've got a bicycle. I don't ask for a lot. Right?
Yeah. I love how you test yourself on those things. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's how successful do I feel on all those different levels. So I think I checked this like maybe a week or 2 ago, and I think On philanthropy, I tested only as a 6. Like, I don't have enough money to be able to contribute to the things I care about yet. So I'm only about 6 on satisfaction on philanthropy. I might give $50 a month, to some things, but I wish I could give thousands,
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful. That's a great answer in regards to success. I love how you put it in different categories, because it's such a broad question and can answer in a sentence, but we can go into so much deeper. Like you said, putting it into finance, relationships, and I like how you also put creativity there. How much we are creating, how much we're giving back. So I love how you put it all together there, and then how you're always moving your success and developing it and then testing it. That's awesome that you're doing your work to test it. I love that. So
muscle, how have you answered that? Because I'm always interested how other people, because that's an interesting question to me.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Look, the thing for me is success is fluid. So you asking me what success is today is probably going to change tomorrow because but essentially I'm a person who has lists and has dreams and has visions. I'm a person that has a vision board, and then the vision board is broken into exactly what you said: finances, relationships, giving back, sacrifices, health, family, friends. It's all broken down. And then I've got little parts of like what success is in those areas. And then I actually look at that every single morning. I look at that every single morning to remind myself, to go into my brain, to be like, this is who I am. This is not who I want to be. This is who I am. And this is what I am. So that's kind of like for success for me, is making sure that I have that feeling that I am success, that I am, and that nothing around me is really impacting me. That is success kind of to me. It's just, I control it inside of me. But I'm getting there. It's definitely not somewhere I am. It's definitely somewhere that I'm slowly making my way to. So it is fluid and it's always changing and always moving. 100%.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I like what you say about the feeling, because it's more of a feeling than a thought.
100%. I think it is, definitely. But let's get into talking about kinesiology, because I'm so interested in it. I know a little bit about it, and I'm pretty sure the audience may know a little bit about it or have heard about it. Let's talk about what is clinical kinesiology and how has it changed your life or your patient's life?
Yeah, well, for those that don't know, so muscle testing, the word kinesiology means kinesio, which is movement, ology, study, so the study of motion. So usually kinesiology refers to people that do like physical therapy, that study muscles and sports physiology and how muscles work. It's not that. So that's not what we're talking about here. So in addition to your brain having all the data about you, the brain also controls the muscles. So what was observed in the 1960s was that when you make a statement that your brain agrees with, like if you said your name's Mihaela and you would test strong. So when you make a true statement, like you live in Australia, okay, you would test strong. So what they found is that when you make a statement that your brain agrees with, the electricity flows and the muscle turns on. And if you make a statement your brain doesn't agree with, the electricity gets disrupted and the muscle goes weak. So essentially, we're not testing muscles, we're just using muscles to see if the electricity is flowing on the nerves. And a positive statement, the electricity flows. A negative, false statement, the electricity doesn't flow.
Okay.
So essentially, you're hijacking your nervous system to discover what your brain agrees or disagrees with at the subconscious level. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of how I believe muscle testing works. So there's a technique. The first technique was called applied kinesiology, and it was discovered in the mid-60s, and it's always being developed. It's always being added to. There's thousands of people that do that technique. The problem with it, at least when I was studying it in the mid-90s, was it had no way to determine priority. So it could find things and fix things, but it didn't have a way to determine if it was the cause or if it was a secondary compensation. So I found that you're just randomly fixing things that, oftentimes would not be stable corrections. And so clinical kinesiology made some massive breakthroughs in terms of being able to determine priority. So if you play dominoes, if you know what the first domino is, it can fix all the other problems. Yeah. But otherwise, you're just knocking out random dominoes. Okay. So that's how important priority is. So
it is. It's definitely key. 100%. I can relate to that working in naturopathy or anything else. If you just randomly go, oh, that, you have to kind of start what started it, like the domino effect. Yeah. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, it's like what caused that? What caused that? What caused that? Like I say, if a kid is traumatized, let's say they're, criticized as a child, over time their posture will slouch, right? Because it's like the physiology reflects their own, their own attitude about themselves. And then they start eating badly because they don't have self-esteem, and then they get illnesses, and then they get diseases, and go to the medical doctor and they say, oh, we've got to take out these organs, or we've got to give you this medication. Or if they go to a nutritionist and they say, well, you should eat these foods, but the reason they eat those foods is because they have low self-esteem, and they're just reaching for comfort food. Or they go to a chiropractor and the chiropractor says, fix your posture, stand up straight. But none of those are the primary issues. If you address the underlying damage to their self-esteem, all those other things will get corrected automatically. Okay, so you need a system that will show you what the underlying cause of the problem is. And then all those other issues will just get handled by themselves. So it's kind of like if you remove the boulder upstream, it'll handle everything downstream from that. So clinical kinesiology, it was vast. It incorporated acupuncture, it incorporated homeopathics, it did some highly precise work with nutrition, very precise. It used hand modes, so these things called mudras. If you see like statues of Buddha and Buddha's, sitting like this or whatever. So it was incorporating specific mudras, which they called hand modes. So this is one for minerals. So if you test somebody's arm muscle and you hold that, if it goes weak, it means you're missing minerals. And then there's ways to find out which minerals. And so here's a hand mode for allergies, and this is for virus, and this is for TMJ, and this is for homeopathic, and this is for metabolism. So I memorized about 400 of these. I mean,
wow, 400 of them. How can you even make 400 with them with your fingers?
Well, they were like guitar chords for me. So I'm a guitarist. So every day I would learn two or three new ones. And I became so fascinated with this that I dropped out of school for 6 months, and I had 50 hours of my mentor's videotapes, and I just watched and rewatched those and found people to work on, and every day I learned 2 or 3 new hand modes and started using them, and I became obsessed. Okay, I mean, to get it, I'm convinced now if you want to be great, you have to be obsessed.
It's good when, to an extent, it's good when practitioners become obsessed about what they do. In a sense, they have to look after their health, of course, but it shows that practitioner will definitely put their all in to make sure that their client gets the answer.
One of my big influences was Osho, also called Rajneesh. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
He was a guru in India. They kicked him out of India. He went to Oregon. Things had ended badly for him. But in the 70s, he was speaking. He had, I think, maybe 2 million followers. And he spoke for 30 years. He has about 200 books. And I really connected with his books. I never met him. But he was really teaching that your nervous system is just as valid as anybody else. Your brain you're the authority. So essentially he says, you're the authority. Every technique, every idea was made up by someone. So why not you? So when I looked at healthcare systems, healing systems, I said, somebody just made this up. And so I looked at it fresh. Instead of, idolizing any one system, I said, okay, well, this system's good at this, and this system's good at this, and let me discover it for myself. Let me just create a blank slate and stop taking other people's seminars and just learn from my own body. If I can use muscle testing, my body will teach me what's true and what's false. And so I started learning from my patients and learning from my own body and just kind of discovering, for myself, how energy gets stuck in the body and how you can get it unstuck. And so over years and years and decades, I learned how to clear these deep-seated issues and keep them from coming back. So that's a big part of it. So you can type something on the computer, but you better hit save or you're going to lose it.
Yes.
So a lot of times I would fix stuff, but the problems would come back. And so I learned how to fix that problem. So
I love how you took a whole new slate and, you didn't idolize anyone, because I think that is a huge issue in our profession. As practitioners, we look up to individuals and we have mentors, which is amazing because we learn so much from them, but we undervalue ourselves and the knowledge and the experience that we hold and our body holds, like you said. So I love that you've actually taken that and gone, you know what, I'm going to take this and this and learn off myself, learn off my clients and make something out of it. I love that you've done that and you've had the courage and the strength and just go for it.
Well, at some point I realized that when I was taking seminars, I was left doubting myself. So I'd been doing things one way and then this other practitioner was doing it another way. I was like, ooh, maybe I should do it more like that. And then I'd take another seminar. I was like, ooh, maybe I should do it more like that. And I would pick up good things, so I would learn from them. But after a while, I realized I was left feeling more disempowered. And so I realized I had to be careful because you can become a seminar junkie. And it's kind of like music, you have a teacher, you learn the chords, you learn the scales, but at some point you have to make your own music. So you have to kind of step away and stop listening to everybody else. And, a point in time comes where you realize, okay, it's time for me to make my own discoveries and stop reading the books and start writing them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the audience can relate to that in regards to the business that they're in. It may not be as a practitioner, it may be, as a marketing specialist or something along those lines, but they can definitely relate to that and then, start writing their own processes, their own systems and move forward from there. So I was wondering, now that we know a little bit about clinical kinesiology, what it is, how are individuals, how can they use clinical kinesiology to connect the dots to their disease themselves? What are they able to do?
Well, you can watch videos. So there's many different people that have videos on YouTube. If you want to look me up, just look up Whitten Method. I've got lots of videos on how to muscle test yourself. So there's many different ways to do it. I hold my thumb and ring finger together, and then I take these fingers and I try to pry the fingers apart. So This is a yes and this is a no. So the fingers hold strong for yes. You're doing it perfectly.
Like that, there you go.
That's yes, that's a no.
That one went weak. Did you see that?
You did it. You're an expert. So essentially you say, show me a yes, show me a no, show me a yes, show me a no. So every morning you do that 20, 30, 50 times until you get the feel of it. And you might get it right away. Like you might just have it automatically. Sometimes it takes weeks or months. So just practice. Show me a yes, show me a no. And then you just say, okay, should I have oatmeal for breakfast? Should I have eggs? Should I have a smoothie? Okay, I test strong for a smoothie. So just start using it on that. If you go to the gym, you could say, should I run on the treadmill today? Should I work on my chest? Should I work on my low back? So you're just getting yes, no answers.
That's so interesting. That's really, really interesting. And then I guess when you become in tune, you can trust yourself, and you can kind of be your own doctor in a sense, or your own healer.
Well, humans have become disconnected with our intuition over time. We don't live in the natural world. We have controlled air conditioning and heating, and we get foods in the supermarket as opposed to off the trees. We're kind of disconnected from nature, and that's disconnected us from our intuition. We have artificial lights, and we control our environment. So this really is a tool. It's a technique for reconnecting with your own intuition. When my son was young, he would come up to me at the supermarket, and he'd have a bag of candy or jelly beans, and he would hold it up. He would put his arm out, and he would want me to push his arm to see if he was strong or weak. So he wouldn't ask me if he had it. He would just come up to me and put his arm out, and his arm would go weak, and so he realized that was bad for him. And so it wasn't me telling him no, it was his own body telling him no.
And what you just did there, just in case people aren't watching the videos, your son held the lollies to his chest, is that right? And then put out his arm?
He put out his arm for me to push down.
To muscle test?
Yeah.
And does the bag of lollies have to be near the chest, or is it on the stomach, or does it matter?
Well, the heart is the most electrical, so it can feel and sense the energy of the food or the supplement. And so it's kind of like a scanner, so it can sense electromagnetically what the substance is. So it will hold strong if that food raises your energy or raises your vitality. It goes weak if it lowers your vitality. So by the time he was 3 or 4, he got that concept. So if we could teach this to kids, they would never lose connection with their intuition, and that would be a whole new world.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, first time I heard about anything along these lines. And I remember there was a test where you grabbed a mobile phone and you put it near you and you get the person to test it. And every single time when you have the mobile phone, it just goes down. Your hand just goes down. I'm like, just keep trying.
No, it's like magic. I started studying it in 93. And so what is this, 27 years now? I'm still like a kid with it because I'm always learning new applications for it. I'm learning how to unblock my channels for success, for anti-aging, for creativity, for happiness.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, at the start, we spoke about how you took clinical kinesiology to a much deeper level with the Whitten method that you have, but you made it a lot more simpler. How did you do that?
Well, like I say, with these hand modes, and there was all kinds of complexity in clinical kinesiology. There's only about 10 of us that have actually mastered that, maybe in the world. And I realized all that I need to do, if I'm working on you, all I need to know, because I can only do one thing at a time. I can do something structural, nutritional, or energetic. All I need to know from your body is, where should I go and what should I do? So I need to know where you're inviting me to do something. So what's priority number 1? What do you want and where do you want it? Okay? That's simple. That's teachable. All these 400 hand modes, that's complex. Where should I go? What should I do? So essentially, I consider myself like a waiter. What do you want? That's really the question that I'm asking. So I have a menu of everything I know how to do structurally. I can do adjustments, I can do massage, I can do myofascial work, I can do craniosacral. So that's essentially my menu items on the structural. When it comes to chemistry, it's food or supplements. Is there a food we should give you or a food we should take away from you? There might be a food there's no supplement for a food you shouldn't be eating. You just need to stop eating that, right?
I agree 100%.
So really, yeah. So when we're going to correct you chemically, it's a matter of, should we give you a food that you're not taking or remove a food that your body doesn't want? Or is there a supplement that you need? Okay. So then we can find out what organ might be weak, and does the body want to treat it with food or supplements? And then when it comes to energetic work, that's what I found was missing from every other system. Like with clinical kinesiology, all they did was they stole the work of neuro-emotional technique, so it was kind of like a tapping technique. And so that was the only choice. When it came to doing emotional work, neuro-emotional technique was the only item on that menu. And so I thought that can't be the end-all of emotional healing, tapping certain points. And what I discovered was that tapping only cleared things at a superficial level. It didn't get to the depth of the subconscious mind. It put the body into a state of adaptation, but it didn't really clear it deeply. And so I spent the last 20 years looking at how can we do energy work at a very deep level and very precisely. Because let's say you hold some old resentment, let's say in your heart or your solar plexus. That lives, if that's real, it lives in your body at a certain location at a particular frequency. Okay, so if we want to cancel that frequency, we have to match it. All right, so if we want to match it, let's say it lives at 1200 hertz, just for example, or 1200 nanometers. The color spectrum only works from 400 to 700 nanometers. So if you're going to use color as your modality, it doesn't clear 1200 hertz. It only works from 400 to 700 hertz. So what I did was I created lists of every phenomenon in the world, from colors and sounds and metals and elements of the periodic table and sacred geometry and plants, and so essentially I created a list of about 60 different modalities, including concepts like love, compassion, trust, surrender, all those kinds of things. So I created lists and lists. So with muscle testing, the body could choose the modality that had the right frequency range to cancel that particular frequency. And so then we could find out exactly where that disturbance lived and which frequency was needed to cancel it. And sometimes it wasn't a pure frequency. It could be a complex frequency, like a musical chord. So let's say it's in the heart. Well, we can find out which modality is going to cancel that frequency. And it might be a pure frequency, like 1200 hertz, but there might be 4 or 5 different frequencies. It might be like a complex musical chord. And so we need to identify all the different energetic components of that. And so it might take 3 or 4 or 5 different frequencies. But once that's clear, it doesn't matter if you've had that resentment for 20 years. Once that energy's gone, it's gone. It's kind of like when you blow out a candle, it's gone. It's like, where does it go, right? It's just gone. And so I've spent 20 years trying to find a way to precisely clear old energetic disturbances that we've been carrying around. So to my mind, nobody has brought precision to energy healing. They brought precision to surgery. They brought precision to chiropractic. There might be ways to diagnose exactly what somebody needs nutritionally. But the energy work has always been very intangible.
You're 100% right. I agree with that. It's very intangible. It's intangible for the practitioner and it's intangible for the client in a sense.
Yeah.
But I guess you can also, once, like what you were talking about, the vibrations and things like that. And I mean, I've meditated before. I've had a lot of different healings done and things like that. And you know when you're vibrating on a different level. You know when your body, your mind, your soul is just clear. It's cleared. Something's cleared up. You know, you can feel it. You know it. So what you're saying makes sense 100%. And I love that you've come up with a list of different vibrations. That is extraordinary. And it's interesting with everything that's happening in the world at the moment. I think I was reading somewhere that the whole vibration of the world has shifted, of the whole earth has changed. And imagine how that is impacting us on an individual level. That's just mind-blowing.
Absolutely. So one of the things I say, you know, we take a shower every day because we pick up dirt and bacteria and we need to clear that. But we also pick up negative energy. So my technology, I really want to teach it because you need to take an energetic shower every day. Because like you say, when you're clear, you can just feel it. You're humming. You're in a state of gratitude. Things come to you. You know, synchronicities happen. You know, abundance happens. You know, you just become a light around you. People just feel better being around you. So if you had a technology to get in that state every day and clear up all the stuff that we pick up from other people and the environment, and like you say, the whole world is shifting, and it's kind of hard to stay balanced, you know, within all that, you know, all the stuff happening in Australia and Victoria. It's dense. It's dense. So we need to learn how to stay clear, like you say.
And that's exactly where we are. It's absolutely crazy. And I mean, I can feel it around this. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the other empaths or individuals who are tuned in can definitely feel it. And it's just intense. It's just crazy, the energy. But you're talking about what you're talking about. Are you talking about a device or are you talking about a technique that you do that you can just do with your own body?
This technique. So I've been a proponent of low tech. You know, we've gotten into high tech and always trying to find a gadget. And really my work is about how to reconnect with trusting our own selves, our hands, our mind, our brain, our feelings. That's the technology. That's the supercomputer. So we need to reconnect with being able to trust our own selves. And, you know, we're always disempowered. We're always giving our powers away to experts and, you know, journals and computers, and we're always looking for validation outside of ourselves. So really my whole life is trying to move it away from that, and two people connecting with each other, and just you know, having your own mind be the gold standard, and
gold standard research, your mind. I love it.
Your mind is the gold standard. Yeah.
Referencing my mind.
Yeah.
I love that. So what I was going to say is I was going to ask you a question in regards to the Whitten Method, right? Which you created. So I know you touched a bit upon it. Are you able to just sum it up for us for what it is and how people may be able to access it?
Well, I've made some videotapes of my system, which will, they'll be available on my website soon. We finished shooting them, but we're still a few months away.
Oh, beautiful.
From those. But you can look on YouTube, and there's some things that I teach there. But really, essentially, the first step is getting clear yes and no, and just start using that to everything that you have a question about. Should I eat a small meal, a medium meal, a large meal? Should I fast? You know, sometimes I'll wake up in the morning, I'll say, does my body need food? Oh no, okay. Wait till 11 a.m. to eat. So, you know, anything I have a question about, I'm just using it to try to get information. So I've calculated I've done about 3 million muscle tests in my life. So just start using it for everything. Every hour, you just start testing things. And then eventually, you're you're having a conversation with yourself and just saying, what does my body want? Do I need a massage right now? Do I need a massage in my neck and my low back? You know, so
it's not, you're not
everything.
asking Google, you're asking yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. So what I also wanted to know is, what, from your experience, what are the top 3 reasons for disease and how can we overcome this? I know it's a very broad question, it's big, but what would you say these would be from your experience?
Before I answer that, I also want to say in January, we're starting another Zoom class. So I just started teaching a 10-week series. It's only $200 for 10 weeks, and we get together once a week. And, we work through helping you become confident with your muscle testing and finding applications for using that. So in mid-January, we'll be starting up another Zoom class. So people can email me if they're interested.
And I'll link the details in the show notes so they'll be able to contact you. Okay,
great.
100%.
To answer your question, I think the most important thing with health, I could be the greatest healer in the world, but if we put a plastic bag over your head and you don't get oxygen, all the healing in the world is not going to help. So there are certain things that we need to be healthy. We need oxygen. We need good water. We need to be hydrated. We need high quality carbs, proteins, fats. We need vitamins and minerals. We need healthy probiotics. We need, our intestinal flora. We need rest. So those are 9 things, okay? Oxygen, water, carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and rest. So those are what I call the stable state. Stable state. I have a hard time saying it. So if we have all that, if we have if our body has those resources, then it can heal itself really well. So all my energy work, I found that it works really well on people that are in a stable state, if they're hydrated, if they're well rested. If they're not, that's the foundation. So you can use muscle testing saying, I'm extremely well hydrated, I've got very high levels of healthy, So I would first make sure you're good on those things. And that's 90%, I would say. So rest, rest and stress as well. Making sure your body's relaxed.
It's the basics, but there's so many times that we don't consider them as basics.
Yeah, we're looking for all these lofty principles. It's like, no, just drink a glass of water, man.
Yeah, where's that super supplement? Water.
So it's within arm's reach. So if it's not within arm's reach, and you're drinking out of glass, I'm drinking out of stainless steel. So those are key.
100%. And that's one of the most things that I talk to people about is, how's your water? How's your hydration? What are we doing about it? And unfortunately, a lot of individuals just forget. And the same as like we forget to actually breathe, don't we? We think we're breathing because it's automatic, but we don't actually go and take that deep breath and actually fill our souls, fill our heart, our body with some oxygen. The first thing that you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. All right,
that's great.
While we're wrapping it up, I wanted to find out, what would you say are some practical tips for the audience to incorporate your method into their everyday lives to achieve optimal health? I know that you mentioned the quick testing and keep doing that to get the best out of them, but is there anything else that you would recommend?
We're the only species that doesn't touch the earth 24 hours a day. Us and domestic animals like dogs and cats that live indoors. So we need to get off our computers and go out barefoot. Get sunlight. A lot of people, they're just not getting enough sunlight. I don't know in Australia, but we live indoors too much. So we need sunlight. We need to go out barefoot and ground ourselves. Get off the computer. Get out in nature. I think nature is incredibly healing. I just got back from 4 days in the mountains with my son. We went on a backpacking trip, and every time I go hiking, I just come back in a better mood. I come back clearer. There's something about the animal, the plants and the birds chirping, and especially if you get your feet in the soil and the ground.
I couldn't agree more.
It's the simple things. Yeah, it's just the simple things. So, just get away from all the gadgets and, the latest and greatest, and just reconnect with Mother Earth.
100%. I couldn't agree more. That's absolutely brilliant. So the camping trip must have been a success. It would have been absolutely brilliant being out in nature and experiencing it all.
I mean, yeah, you bond with nature, you bond with the people that you're with, You're not talking on screens to people like we're doing right now. But
I know. And that's something that us in Victoria haven't had the opportunity to do for a number of months. We've just been behind the screen talking to each other. We've had that, not that connection, that physical connection. So I think all of us are just thriving and cannot wait to get out there and just give someone a hug. We haven't seen someone for a while. Wonderful. Well, to finish off today's podcast, which has been absolutely brilliant, I ask all my guests, as this is the Natural Health Podcast, what is your secret natural health hack? And it probably won't be a secret after you tell us, but what is one thing or few things that you do to get yourself on track on health?
I don't know how old I look. The word hack is a new hack. I'm actually in my early 50s.
Wow.
But if I understand your question correctly, it's kind of like how you, I don't know, how do you define the word hack?
It's kind of like something that you would do that not a lot of people wouldn't do to make their health better. So some people talk about cold showers, some people talk about grounding, drinking water. Some people might have this super smoothie that they make something up and it makes them better. Something that you do that benefits your health, that you do on a regular basis. That's your little health hack.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think the most important thing, a lot of my hacks are high tech, because I have this technology for keeping myself clear, but that's not going to benefit your audience because they don't have that technology. But I think the Wim Hof method is extremely good. I really like that technique. The first time I did that, I thought there's no way I can hold an exhale for more than a minute.
I agree 100%.
The first time I did it, I held an exhale.
You hold it in and you just get to the part and you're I can't do it anymore. I can't hold it.
Yeah. Well, the third time I did this, I held an exhale for 5 minutes.
Wow.
That blew my mind. I mean, I was in an altered state. And then I did an inhale and held that for 2 minutes. So I held a 7-minute breath cycle. So I think his work is definitely worth playing around with and trying. He's certainly done some phenomenal things, but that's the only thing I can tell you other than what I've already told you. But really, I think with muscle testing, it's just before I put anything in my mouth, I say, does my body want this? Does my body want this? And I don't think there's much that could be more important. If I'm going to go out, I say, does my body want this? If I'm going to go exercise, maybe I just need to rest. Sometimes we overdo it. Does my body want to exercise? Should I do a light exercise, a medium exercise, or a hard exercise? My big hack is just listening to myself before I do something.
Yeah, and that's so important. A lot of us don't do that. So it's absolutely brilliant that you incorporate that into nearly everything that you do in every single day, in hour that you do. That's absolutely brilliant that you ask your body, do I want this? Imagine if we all sat there and asked ourselves, do we want to do this? How should we do this? Should we eat this? Should we not? Before we did something. It would just change the world, wouldn't it?
The medical world relies on unhealthy, sick people. If everybody took responsibility for their health, the pharmaceutical industry would go out of business or would become extremely small. So my whole goal is just to help people become self-reliant. Tune into yourself. Your body's telling you exactly what you need. Just listen to it. there's no drug that's going to make up for that, that's going to save you if you're living in a way that's out of balance with yourself. So
I love that. That's a beautiful way to end it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. If someone's listened to you and said, wow, I love this, I want to hear more about it, where are they able to find you? And I'll definitely put all the notes in the down there where all the stuff is written. I'll put it in there. But where would they be able to find you best?
Yeah, they can email me at the Whitten Method at Gmail. My website's in process. I wish it was up right now and ready to go. But just email me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm happy to help people out. We can do that Zoom meeting in January.
Amazing.
My YouTube channel, I've got a lot of videos on there. So
yeah, beautiful. And if anyone wants any more information, jump on that YouTube channel. There's amazing videos on there. You provide so much knowledge and so much content, even on your Instagram. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Natural Health Podcast.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes.
Tomorrow I'm speaking to someone in Australia. We're talking about doing some seminars in Australia.
Oh, wow. So I can't wait
to
hear more about it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Definitely. Keep us posted. Keep us updated.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahela. Bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Natural Health Podcast. And remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health.